thing is we don't even have a link to our style sheet. So you may have a style tag. We're not going to use the style tag. We're going to use the link tag. Okay? And the link tag will allow us to link to a CSS style sheet. So the first thing we need to do is tell it where to go, and that's under href. So put href equals, and it's going to be, I'm going to call it styles with an S. If you're following along and doing it as I do, don't forget it's with an S. And we need to tell the relationship of this style sheet. And in this case, relationship, or REL, equals style sheet. So basically, we're telling the browser we're linking to a style sheet. And then I'm going to copy that and just paste it and do another one for navigation. So one will be styles, one will be navigation. Now, you might be thinking, why have extra links? That could take extra download times and things like that. Yes, it could. But what we're trying to do here is trying to make sure our code is manageable and we can process it right. So this particular, we're going to separate the two different style sheets so we can focus on each one at a time. Now, let's just run a check through. We're going to check the style sheet. So let's do that right now. So what I like to do is I like to just take whatever's in the href, copy that, and then use that to create our style sheet. So I have a style sheet over here, and I'm just going to click. I've got two windows open right now. I like to open up two windows at once. And if you don't have that, what you can do is when you have your one window, you can create a new file. So now I'm just going to click on here, create a new file. And now on this new file, what I can do is I can right-click on here and move to the other view. So now I have it over here. And now I want to save this file, so I'm going to click File, Save As. And I am going to paste right here what I just copied. Now notice a couple things. I am linking href to styles.css. That means it should be in the same folder as my index page. And I want to make sure I'm in the right folder. So this is a good time to check. Otherwise, you might have something not working and you won't know why. And it was because you just saved it to the wrong place. So there's our style sheet. Now let's do a little bit of styling, and we're going to do a technique that's going to set the width of the entire content of our page and center it. So let's do that now. Now, before we do this, I just want to point out we're going to target this one div here that has a class of wrapper. I believe I told you about why I was doing that, but I'm going to collapse all these elements here. And when I collapse them, you can see I have a div with a class of wrapper. It starts right after I open the body, and it closes right before I close the body. And inside, I have all of my structure that will be the visible structure, the header, the nav, the article, the footer. This wrapper is going to be more to decorate the way it's going to look and the way it's going to behave. I'm going to use it to center it, but also I can apply styles like background colors and other items. So what I want to do is I want to target this div, and note that since everything's inside of it, if I set the width on the wrapper, everything will get that width. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Now I'm going to show you a comment here. And a comment in CSS needs to start with the /* and end with */. So I'm going to move this over a little bit here so we can focus on it. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste the name of the style sheet right there like so. And then I'm going to make a comment explaining what I'm going to do next. And on this comment, we're just going to say center wrapper. Okay. And so to target a tag, in this case, we gave it a class solely so we could target this particular div. We may have other divs, so we want to target this one, and we want to target this particular class. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy it so I know I have it spelled correctly. And I'm going to put a dot. Dot means class, and then just paste the class. There cannot be a space between the dot and that first letter of the class. I'm going to go ahead and create our curly brackets to create our declaration block. And now we're going to set the width. And I'm going to start by setting it at 90%. And we might change this later on. But I want it to make sure you can see results right away and find out if it's working or not. The other thing I'm going to do is set a background color. And I'm more worried about what it looks like than I am about the actual color. So I'm going to try a DE. And it kind of got out of the window here. So there's my background color. I'm going to save my changes for now and just see what we got. Be careful when you go to launch your web page, do not launch the style sheet. If you do, this is what you'll see. you will see your style sheet, and here it is. Okay. So when that happens, just remember it's the index page you're wanting to actually see, not your style sheet. So we run that in Chrome, and now we will see, hopefully, a background color, and there we go. So now I zoomed in a little bit. So there we go. We got 90%. I'm going to adjust my screen to sort of match this window here a little better. There we go. And a couple things you're going to notice. You're going to notice white space around everything. Okay, part of that is because there is a margin applied to the body. And so I want to get rid of that because I don't like that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to center it anyway. So we're going to clean this up just a little bit, but at least we know that our link tag is properly working, right? Because there it is. It said we're linking to styles. Here's styles, and we applied these. So we're going to do a few more things. And I'm going to do it before the centering of the wrapper. We're going to remove margin from the body. A margin of 0. Now, if you want to set font size and things like that, you can do that here. I like to make my font size a little larger, so I'm going to make it 110%. Save my changes. And then let's take a look at what it looks like after I do that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to resize this window so you can see my CSS while I also show you the page. And I hit refresh. Notice now there is no margin on the left. There's still a margin on the right, and that's because we set the width at 90%. However, there's this nasty little margin up here, and you might be asking, where's the margin coming from? Well, I could tell you a long process to explain it, but it's actually coming from the header 1. So watch what happens when I do this. And so I'm going to set it right here. I put H1, and I'm going to set a margin of 0 on it as well. Save my changes. Hit refresh, and now that's up at the very top. Okay. So you want to remove that, and what's really going on here with that margin of 0, and I'll give you the short version, is, and I'll move this down here, is let's look at the header. This div with the class of wrapper has no default margin on it. So that had nothing. Header had no default margin. So what's really weird about this, it's called margin collapse. The margin of my header actually will extend above other elements that it's inside of, and it goes beyond header, it goes beyond the wrapper, and that's because it never got set on either of those. So if you don't set it, then it will go beyond it, and we can talk about that in more detail on another one. But just understand, just remove that margin from header 1. If you don't like having no margin at the top, you can change it on your wrapper, and let's do that right now. In fact, I'm going to do one more thing on the wrapper. We're going to we've already set the width, but we're going to set an automatic left and right hand margin, and that will center the page. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to fiddle with the margin on the top and the bottom as well. So for example, let's go ahead and let's just set a margin of 1 EM on the top. And then we're going to set an automatic margin on the right. And just to prove my point, I'm going to do a 2 EM margin on the bottom and an automatic margin on the right. And the way this works is we could set a margin top, margin right, margin bottom as a property. But if we do the shorthand, the first value is the top, and then it works clockwise as it goes around. So this is top, this is right, that's bottom, that's left. Now you'll notice when we save our changes, I'll show you how that margin works. So bring this back. And I'm going to hit refresh. Now, first of all, the automatic left and right hand margin made an automatic on the left and on the right. The 1 EM put a margin on the top, but you may be asking yourself, that looks more than 2 EMs on the bottom. And you would be right. But this window is taller than our content. So let's move the viewport up a bit. Well, maybe not that much. We'll move this up a little here. Watch what happens when I move the scroll bar down. Okay, if I can't fit everything vertically on my page, that's when the margin kicks in. So the margin only kicks in now because the window's not tall enough to fit. I go beyond here. If that scroll bar disappears, then it really doesn't make, it doesn't have an impact on the bottom margin, and we lose that now. So just to understand, if you wanted to put a background image on the bottom, you could set the bottom margin. The other thing I like to do is I'm just going to get rid of the top margin. And I'm going to get rid of the bottom margin. And the first thing you're going to notice is we have a repeating pattern of 0 auto. Well, the nice thing is let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Hit refresh. Notice it's now along the top. But the other thing is we can actually get rid of these second two values. Since they're just repeating the first two, we get rid of it and it works. So it's still going to work the same way as 0 auto, 0 auto. It's just that the browsers are very wily. They can figure that out. So when I hit refresh, there's actually no change at all. We're going to do one last thing on our wrapper. And we may end up reversing this later, but for now, I am very OCD, and I do not like my text touching borders. All right? But it's actually a very good design technique anyway. You don't want to do that. It's more readable if you have some. What we're going to do is we're going to add some padding to the wrapper, and we're just going to give it a 1 EM. Now, if we give one value to padding, it will be all the way around. So we're going to save our changes and take a look at it. And so there's our padding now. So now we have a 90% width. That's of our content. So this padding goes beyond that width. Did you see how that happened? You see how there's a smaller gap now on either side? Remember, don't forget that if you do that, you're going to have trouble. Now, I'm thinking at this point, I'm going to actually get rid of that and do it a different way. I'm actually going to target all of these elements on my page, header, nav, article, footer. So watch what I do. These are all tags, so I just do it this way. Header, comma, nav, comma, article, comma, footer. And now I'm going to apply my styles, and let's hit enter, and then I want to just go down a little bit so you can see this better. And we're going to do on here, we're going to do our padding of 1 EM. So we're actually going to set it on these that are inside the wrapper and leave the wrapper alone. Allow us to do other effects. And now our width is 90%. We're back where our width was before. But with lots of extra padding. So we're going to fine tune and adjust this on a later tutorial.